The following may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Teenager erased by police during suspected arson. A 17-year-old teenager was erased by the police in San Juan. Reports indicate that the police command center received a report of men setting fire to a house at the corner of 1st Street and 1st Avenue, San Juan. Upon arrival, police found the lower floor of the house in flames and the assailants making their escape. The officers gave chase and one of the assailants allegedly opened fire at the police. The police returned fire and the teenager was hit. He was taken to hospital where he was later pronounced dead. The deceased was later identified as DeAndre Henry. Grandmother erased in domestic dispute. A woman was found dead in her home in Blue Basin today with a piece of cloth covering a fatal wound to her head. Police believe Marva Sutherland was struck on the head with a rock wielded by a man who was her companion. Sutherland, the mother of 4, was found by one of her daughters at around 9:30 a.m. Police believe the homicide happened not long before the body was discovered. Her body was still warm, said her son Andel Sutherland, a funeral home employee. The suspect, a maxi-taxi conductor, was described as Sutherland's companion. The man was said to have been acting aggressively towards Sutherland for several days due to work-related problems. Marva Sutherland, who had 21 grandchildren, lived at Andrew Trace. Police are actively searching for the suspect. Sutherland is a third woman to be erased this week in a domestic violence situation. On Wednesday, Ellen Mohammed was to death at her home in Guayagare. The previous day, Abio Cujo and her 12-year-old son were erased at their home in Pinal. Guayagare mother meets gruesome death. A Guayagare mother of 3 was to death at her home yesterday during an altercation with a man whom she knew. She is the second mother to be erased in this manner this week. On Tuesday, 12-year-old Levi Lewis and his mother Abio Cujo were erased at their home in Pinal. A soldier is a person of interest in this case. In yesterday's incident, Ellen Tashana Mohammed, 24, collapsed and died outside her home at La Brea Village. The assailant fled the scene, then stopped the officers of the Highway Patrol Unit and is said to have confessed to the crime. A police report said that at around 10:50 a.m., Mohammed, a housewife, was at her home when the assailant came to her home and attacked her. The assailant inflicted several wounds to her body and her head, leaving it partially severed. The scene was visited by Inspector Ramkisoon, Sergeant Nareen, and other officers of the Mayaro Police Station and detectives of the Homicide Bureau of Region 2. Mohammed's father, Steve Jones, said his daughter had been in a relationship with the suspect for almost 3 months. Jones said the suspect had threatened his daughter on several occasions, and his daughter had made 6 reports against the man at the Mayaro police station. The police in this country gone through. They are rotten. 6 times we went to the police station, said Jones. The man was making threats to her. The police came on 1 occasion, and they did not meet the man, but they never came back, only until today, when they came with caution tape and about 15 jeeps. My daughter left behind 3 little children, he added. Jones said he dropped his granddaughter off at school yesterday and then left to do an odd job. Brother of the deceased, Isaiah, said the suspect ambushed his sister when he was not at home. He waited until I went to work to attack my family. My sister told me she had wanted to end the relationship. She said when she told him that, he threatened to attack the whole family. He had a blade in his hand that day that he said that. I told him I did not want to see him in the yard. That is why he waiting until I went to work to attack my sister, said Isaiah. He said the last time his sister made a police report was on Sunday. Yesterday I saw him sharpening the blade. I am in shock. My 3 nieces are just babies without a mother now, wept Isaiah. The body was removed for an autopsy at the Forensic Science Center, Federation Park. Suspect in the homicide of mother and son surrenders. The soldier wanted for questioning in connection with the homicides of 12-year-old Levi Lewis and his mother, Abiola Cujo, has surrendered to police. Accompanied by his attorneys Kiran Pandey and Suryap Dionarin, the 35-year-old man surrendered to police around 2:32 p.m. yesterday. He was informed of his rights and privileges by investigating officer Inspector Maharaj, who took preliminary information from him. The soldier was then sent to the San Fernando General Hospital for a medical examination. Once investigations are complete, a file will be sent to the Director of Public Prosecutions by senior officers. Levi Lewis, a student of St. Dominic's RC School in Pinal, wrote the SEA examinations last month and had hoped to pass for his first choice, Presentation College. He lived with his mother, Abiola Cujo, his 3-year-old brother, and 35-year-old man about a mile from the school. Levi Lewis was accustomed to walking to school with other pupils. In a story carried by the Catholic News yesterday, the principal of St. Dominic's, R.C. Lynn Moody, described him as a popular student. He was a very outgoing child, outspoken, outgoing, always around. You could say the whole school knew Levi, Moody said. She added, he was a child not afraid to ask questions and make comments. He was a child like that. He was a nice child. I knew him from the infants department. The attack on the child and his mother occurred around 1:50 a.m. at their home at La Chus Road, Pinal. Police said Lewis had a wound to his neck while his mother had injuries to her hands and chest. The front door was broken in. Lewis's brother was found asleep in the room. No weapons were found at the scene, police said. Before her death, Cujo made a post on April 25, saying she was abused in so many ways. She said she had been in a relationship for 9 years and was beaten for 8 of them. Saturday, he broke my hand, kicked me in my belly, and dragged me out of the house with my 3-year-old. Now we're living house to house, and police saying stay away from the home. In the post, Cujo asked for advice and help. Her relatives also said she had a restraining order against a male relative on April 25. Homicide Region 3 officers are continuing investigations. Autopsy of toddler Kymani Francis delayed. Although desperate for answers, the parents of 2-year-old Kymani Francis will only know how he died when the autopsy is conducted next week. The body of the deceased toddler was taken to the Forensic Science Center, St. James, yesterday around 11 a.m. It is understood that due to the backlog of cases, his autopsy will be delayed. After he had wandered away from home, the toddler was discovered in the Guapo River about a mile away from his Texture Village Point Village home on Tuesday. A massive aerial ground and water search was conducted during the 24 hours he was missing. A neighbor who spotted Kymani wandering away from his home contacted the police, and only then was his mother aware he was missing. Head of hunting group Hard Ground Gets Soft, Ren Gopi Singh, who was among the team searching for Kymani, explained yesterday that it was not impossible for the boy to veer such a distance away from his home. There's so much questions, so much answers people want, and people asking if he could have reached so far. And there's a possibility people saw him break the corner. From there to the river is about a 3-minute walk. It is a possibility that he could have reached the bridge. The bridge didn't have no barricade. He could have, by mistake, slipped in the water. For the first time, Gopi Singh revealed that just hours before the toddler's body was found, he observed something in the water. We spotted a rip in the water. So I tell them guys, look, we see in a rip current, and when we spotted our light in that direction, we saw a red eye. So it had a caiman there, and it was a very huge caiman. Gopi Singh said that if a caiman had come across the boy's body, it could have dragged it through the watercourse. He also maintained that while it was too early to make any conclusions, there were various factors to consider, especially since that particular river was searched on more than one occasion. Neighbors enraged at toddler's demise. Thousands across the country and in the quiet community of Texture Village Point Fortin have been tossed into grief since 2-year-old Kymani Francis was found dead in the Guapo River a day after he went missing. The toddler was found by a member of a search and rescue group from the village shortly before 11 a.m. Officials report that Kymani was discovered with blood in his nose. Rescue teams had resumed their search for the boy before 5 a.m. after the efforts involving hundreds of soldiers, police, hunters, and community members on Monday failed to find him. The search ended with the discovery of his body face down in the water, clad only in the pampers he was wearing when he wandered off from his house 10:40 on Monday morning. In the direction the toddler walked while heading towards a bushy area in the rural community the day before, he would have passed 2 wooden houses just off the roadway from the home he shared with his family. A neighbor who claimed she had observed Kymani veering away from his home said she contacted the police while pursuing the boy. However, she explained that he was so far ahead of her that she had lost sight of him after he turned a corner at the end of the street. The barefooted toddler would have had to walk for nearly a mile from his home beneath the sweltering heat on an oil sand road and then venture off into a grassy track with stones and debris to reach where his body was found. Investigators are trying to determine how he would have accomplished that all on his own. Head of the search party Hard Ground Gets Soft, Ren Gopi Singh, also said it was unbelievable that the toddler made the journey under the harsh conditions. The body was discovered close to the floodgate, and for a toddler, that walk cannot be less than 20 minutes. For a baby to walk that walk, it's really hard. I made that walk several times myself, and it was not easy, he said. Gopi Singh said the area of the river where the boy's body was found was searched several times by members of his group and others on Monday. The Coast Guard, lifeguards, we and all were here. We were in the water, we did checks and searched that area, and to know that that was where the body was found, it really hard. I, as a father, it hard. As a parent, losing your child is hard. Monday's search exercises went beyond 11 p.m., and volunteers and villagers began searching before 5 a.m. the next day, prior to official search teams resuming their work. As members of the community tried to piece together what happened, many expressed outrage over the circumstances that preceded his death. Many questioned the presence of the boy's parents, who were at home when he disappeared, and also the role of the female neighbor, who said she pursued and contacted the police when she saw the toddler wandering off. The neighbor has since come under heavy criticism for not doing more to save Kymani, despite her claims that she attempted to follow the boy. In an interview posted on social media yesterday, she said, "I just kept going. I was calling boy. I was looking all over. There's a river right there. I checked both sides of the river. When I reached, I couldn't find him. I kept going." Police escorted the woman to the place where the boy's body was found. Tempers flared as villagers gathered outside her home as they insisted she could have done more. "So you, because the mother ain't come out, you can't come out and bring the child for the mother? There is a God, and he sees and he knows," one woman said. Point Fortin MP Kennedy Richards said the incident had left a cloud of gloom over the community. "I was looking at him there, and I was saying that could happen to anybody. I'm not going to cast aspersions on the family, but as a community, we would have failed that young man. The neighbor saw him wandering off. There were some guys cutting grass for Heritage that saw him, and you know what? Nobody stopped him, and that is where we failed him." Mayor Selima Thomas held back the tears as she lamented little Kymani's tragic end. "What can a little one do to deserve such cruelty? So I want to plead with the persons out there that our children are our future, and if we continue to create such harm for our children, there is no future for us." Neighbour who last saw Toddler relocates after being blamed for tragedy. Zoe Kwan kept the woman who reported seeing the now-dead infant Kymani Francis roaming alone on a road in Texture Village, Point Fortin on Monday, has moved out of the area. Police officers were called out yesterday to protect the woman who saw toddler Kymani Francis walk away from his home after vengeful residents stood outside her home hurling bottles, rocks, and obscenities. The residents have accused Zoe Anika Kwan Kep of not doing enough to save the 2-year-old boy when she saw him wandering along the street on Monday morning. She was the subject of relentless verbal attacks since the boy went missing, with someone chasing after her to test whether she could run. And after the body was removed from the Guapo River yesterday, a crowd gathered at Kwan Kep's home at 10th Street, Tekir Village, Point Fortin, within sight of the house where Kymani lived with his single mother and her extended family. Angry women shouted at Kwan Kep, asking why she did not get a hold of the child and take him back home when he walked past her house at 10:11 a.m. on Monday. "You couldn't come out and bring that child back to his mother?" "I can't sleep, I hurting. I have a 2-year-old child too. We need to be our neighbor's keeper," a woman bawled. Men threw stones at Kwan Kep's house, with one yelling, "If it was another village, we erase everybody already." At least 3 patrol vehicles pulled up at the unfenced house with officers standing at the entrance. Kwan Kep's father walked outside attempting to speak with the residents, but he was chased away. In a video posted to Facebook yesterday, Kwan Kep defended her actions, saying she was unable to get the child as she was overweight and had a medical condition. Kwan Kep said she spotted the child, whom she did not immediately identify, as she was walking along the roadway with a piece of paper in hand. Kwan Kep said she was cooking when she walked outside to check on her puppy around 10:11 a.m. She said her house is located off the main road, but she had a clear view of the roadway. "I happened to watch up, and that was when I see a child on the road, barely 2 years old. He was wearing a diaper and was barefoot. He had some kind of paper in his hand," she said. She said it was unusual that a young child would be walking on the road without an adult, and she immediately took action. "First thing I do, I take off my pot, then wake up my husband and find myself outside. My husband say it probably has a parent there, but I said no, I'm not taking that for an answer, and I called the police while I was trying to follow him," she said. Kwan Kep said she was overweight and suffered from a medical condition, which prevented her from running after the little boy. She was far behind him but didn't take her eyes off the child. She said, "I tried to catch up and keep up to him, but at the end of the road we were on, there is a T at the end of it. He made a right, and by the time I made the right, I was still way behind him. When I reached the T and turned right, I couldn't see him, but I didn't stop. I didn't know his name or who he was, and I was calling boy and looking. There is a river there, and I checked both sides of the river, but he was not there," she said. Kwan Kep said she turned around and was walking back when the police arrived around 10:27 a.m. I saw the police. They told me to go back home and wait, and they will go ahead and search. They couldn't find him, she said. Police went door to door searching for the relatives of the child, she said. It was only then Kwan Kep said the child's mother realized her son was missing. I live 2 houses away, but I did not know it was her son, she said. Kwan Kep said she knew the child's mother and worked with her 2 years ago. She admitted there were disagreements over petty things in the past. But I truly did not know it was her son. I apologized to the mother last night and I was very sincere. I feel guilty knowing I saw the child walking. I feel if I could have run, I would have caught up with him. I feel like I didn't do enough. I am sorry, she said. Kwan Kep said she even joined the search for the child, but on Monday night she said a mob gathered outside her home threatening her family. My family didn't do anything. The police came and asked them to leave my house, but they came back this morning. We are now fearful. I am sorry for what happened. I should have done more, but please leave my family alone, she said. Kwan Kep was at the scene yesterday when Kymani's body was removed. She was then returned to her home in a police vehicle as she was being threatened by residents. Investigators said Kwan Kep was expected to be interviewed, but was not a person of interest in the child's death at this time.
Ira, sorry for what you're going through. It's better you did stay in your house like the rest of the people in your community when they saw the little boy roaming on the road. All of them who see him too and just stay quiet and didn't say nothing or didn't run out to try and do all that everybody's saying you should have do. Right? It's better you do like them and stay inside quiet. Yeah. Because all now so you that be comfortable in your house, nobody threatening you nothing. It's better you didn't try to help by calling the police. Right? And doing the best you could do. Right? Because now it's your fault the child dead. Not the mother. Not the irresponsible mother. Only she 2-year-old unattended for so much hours that she didn't realize the child missing until the police come. I'm sorry you had to go through the skill.
Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley has expressed sadness over the death of 2-year-old Kymani Francis. Dr. Rowley issued a brief statement on his Facebook page yesterday, saying he trusts that in times like these, we commit even more than ever to be our brother's keeper. A child is dead, and this entire nation is torn to our deep within. We all have questions to ask ourselves, not the least of which is whether this tender life could have been saved, Dr. Rowley said. He added, the vast majority of us do not know this child or his family, but that does not insulate us from the deep, disturbing sorrow that washes over our nation tonight. This sad end is not what we were praying and hoping for, even as we struggle with a constant stream of violence, domestic and otherwise. I, among the many shocked and saddened citizens, extend my deepest sympathy to the family and the Point Fortune community, and trust that in times like these, we commit even more than ever to be our brother's keeper as we extend ourselves in support as far as we are able. Psychiatric outpatient confesses to homicide of Kymani Francis. An outpatient of a psychiatric clinic has given police a verbal confession that he is responsible for the demise of 2-year-old Kymani Francis, whose body was found in Guapo River on Tuesday after he went missing on Monday. Acting Police Commissioner McDonald Jacob has confirmed the latest development, saying that the police will investigate the claim, but noted the police are awaiting the result of today's autopsy before taking the process forward. The man has been detained by police after asking officers to lock him up for the crime. Police say the man, who appeared to be in his 30s, is from Techcheer Village, Point Fortune. the same area where the toddler resided and was found. In his confession, the man did not mention Kymani by name or gender. Police have not disclosed the extent of the details the man gave in his statement after walking into the Point Fortin police station around 12:45 p.m. According to officers, the man was also talking incoherently. Commissioner Jacob has said that there is no other person in custody in connection with the case, but did not say if there are any other person or persons of interest in the matter. Kymani left home on Monday morning and allegedly walked along a dusty road out of the sight of a neighbor and laborers who saw him. A massive search involving members of the military, police, hunters, and residents failed to find the boy on Monday. However, he was found in the river the next day in a place searched several times the day before. The autopsy was delayed on Wednesday, pending a COVID-19 test. Authorities have confirmed the tests were negative, allowing for the autopsy to be done today.